Hello, I'm Amelia from Northeast Animal Rights, and today I'm delighted to welcome Anita from the Animal Save Movement, and also Nicola from the PlantBased Treaty, the Communications Director of Animal Save Movement and the PlantBased Treaty, and Anita, who is the Executive Director of Animal Save Movement. So they're over there in Canada, so welcome to both of you.
Thank you. So nice to be here, Anna.
You're very,
Anna,
very
thanks
welcome.
for having us.
You're very, very welcome. So we're going to go straight into the questions, if that's okay. Anita, first of all, you're very well known in the animal rights movement for a particular incident which happened way back in 2016. Can you tell us why you acted in the way which led to your arrest, and describe what happened afterwards in light of the worldwide attention you received?
Yes, so we were having regular vigils where we started giving water to thirsty pigs. And there was a particularly hot day, and this was in June of 2015 at a vigil in Burlington in front of Fearman's Slaughterhouse. Yeah. And the truck drivers jumped out of his cab and said, "Don't give them water." And I said, "Well, if they're thirsty, they should have water." And I quoted Matthews from the Bible, "When I was thirsty, you gave me water." And he said he would call the police. And luckily, Nikki was beside me on the island. So she was recording it, and two other activists were on the sidewalk across the street. So he was recording it, we were recording it, and then nothing happened for a couple of months. And then a police officer arrived at my door and said I was charged for criminal mischief, interference with property. And I said, "Oh, come into my house and like look at the video of that incident." I go, "I can't believe I'm being charged for this." And he goes, "I was just ordered to deliver this." And he said, "I think there will be a reaction to it." So he was right. So I went to two lawyers, James Silver and Gary Grill. They're vegan lawyers. They worked pro bono on this case, and they ended up putting animal agriculture on trial. And we called in witnesses to talk about the pig sentience, and that pigs should not be property but persons. Yeah. That we had a vet come in to testify. We had a doctor to talk about the health benefits of eating vegan diets as opposed to the diseases caused by eating meat, dairy, and eggs. We had an environmental professor come in to talk about the incredible damage caused to the climate and ocean dead zones and deforestation and so forth from eating animals. So we got a lot of attention, and the trial lasted from 2015 to 2017. Yeah. And there was a lot of community support, and I'm so grateful for that. There were people that arrived at the trial all the time. There was a petition which received hundreds of thousands of signatures, and the hashtag we used that James Silver came up with was "Compassion is not a crime." So the result of that was that the judge said that I was not guilty on the charge of interfering with property because the pigs still went to slaughter. So compassion is not a crime, so we could continue to give water to pigs. But we did not win on the more important objective that we had, which was to see pigs as persons and not property. So for us, it was a disappointing verdict, but we won on that point. In terms of what it did for us and the movement, after that, we focused on growing the movement, Animal Save movement. So for the first 5 years, we started in 2010. By 2015, we had 35 groups, but then the next 5 years, we had over 1,000. So after this pig trial, we really focused on growth and becoming more effective around the world. So the chapters are now in Mumbai, Mexico City, Guadalajara, Lima, all over the world.
Yeah. We have, I support the Northeast Animal Safe over here in the UK, in the northeast of England, and we, one of the things we like about this particular, how you run the movement is the fact that it is a peace-based movement. And I know you were saying that you had obviously quite a few months from you actually having this conflict with the driver, and then to actually being charged as well. So that they didn't really do themselves any favors. It seemed as if they were deliberately kind of targeting you, targeting your movement, and really it's backfired on them massively.
Exactly. I mean, I think we used it as an opportunity for the mass media to share images and videos of the pigs in the transport trucks, and for them to bear witness. Because in the previous years, we had trouble getting our photos and videos in the mainstream media. There were a couple of stories here and there, but when the pig trial happened, it got mass media attention in Canada and around the world. And so it was a great opportunity to show, shine light on how much animals suffer and who they are, and show that in a mainstream audience in a very sympathetic way, because people understood that giving water to a thirsty animal is the right thing to do, and we were being charged for that. So it was actually a great opportunity to raise awareness and create sympathy and empathy in the public at large.
So we're talking a little bit here about the ethos of the Animal Save movement, and and how we, how it's set up as a peace-based movement rather than a liberation movement. One of the things which we have sort of pointed at us is you aren't saving the animals. You're not going in to rescue them. It's not liberation. What good are you doing standing outside there, holding your signs and things? So can you sort of describe, sort of tell us how you deliberately set it up as a peace-based movement, and also how important it is to you that we treat those who work in the industry as victims as well?
Yeah, so that's a great point. So the thing is, the definition of bearing witness, according to Tolstoy, is when suffering a creature causes you to feel pain, don't succumb to the initial desire to flee from the suffering. When on the contrary, come close as you can and try to help. So what we do at Vigils is only partial bearing witness, because if we were in the trucks, we would want the trucks to stop and for people to liberate everyone in that truck. So we understand that that is the ultimately the right thing to do, but we don't have that power yet. At Vigils, we rescue hundreds of animals, or in a year often. Like last year, like in Argentina, they rescued, just one group alone in Buenos Aires rescued hundreds of animals. So we do rescue animals, but there's over 70 billion land animals that are sent to slaughter every year. And in countries like China, they stop the trucks with dogs and rescue all the dogs. Like that is a stronger bearing witness. So the reality is we only partially bear witness for the vast majority of times. We do support worker rights in the sense that Upton Sinclair did in The Jungle, and Gail Eisnitz does in the Slaughterhouse book, where they show that the workers are victims as well. And our objective is to shut down slaughterhouses and support a nonviolent food system. And so what we're supporting is both animal liberation and human liberation. And what's happened in the last couple of years, it's been clear that there are so many reasons for us to do that. And the first one is animal liberation. The other one is environmental protection, as we all know, and concern for the climate. A third is securing public health. A fourth is worker rights. What we saw during the COVID crises is that the workers were falling sick and dying, and the industry did not care and did not shut down the slaughterhouses, even though they were, they were centers where it was spreading COVID as a super spreader. So that's a fourth objective, worker rights. And then a fifth objective is to prevent future pandemics. So I think there are so many reasons to switch to a plant-based system that are win, 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 win. And our movement, Animal Save movement, is an intersectional movement. We believe in it's important to recognize making progress on feminism, on worker rights, on the environment. And that has lent itself to us easily moving towards campaigns like the Plant-Based Treaty.
Yeah. I think, you're right. There's so many things. It's not just about the animals. So many people and so many different movements and other social justice areas benefit by us looking towards plant-based lifestyles. So that leads us nicely on to Nicola now. So could you talk us through, I mentioned before that I've got my Plant-Based Treaty t-shirt on because we were part of the launch up in Newcastle, and we obviously supported and endorsed it as well. So could you tell me about the Plant-Based Treaty, why it's separate from the Animal Save movement, and what's the benefits of keeping them kind of separate while they're still linked, and about your role as well, please?
Hi. Yeah, so the Plant-Based Treaty is a grassroots initiative which aims to build bottom-up pressure on national governments to negotiate and implement a plant-based treaty. We'd like to see three core principles implemented, which we refer to as the 3 R's. So we've got relinquish, redirect, and restore.
Yeah.
So R1, which is relinquish, is basically saying, let's not make the problem worse. We need to stop it in its tracks. And so this is about, halting the expansion of animal agriculture, no new deforestation, no more new farms, no new slaughterhouses, because we think that's the first step to reversing the problem, is to stop it in its tracks. So then we've got R2, which is redirect. And this is about redirecting finance and funding towards plant-based. So this is shifting subsidies from animal agriculture to plant-based. It could be implementing taxes, and it could be redirecting public money into information campaigns so that the public understand the benefits of a plant-based food system, particularly on the climate crisis, and providing the education. And then R3 is restore. And this is as people do transition to a plant-based treaty, we've got lots of opportunity to rewild, restore peatlands, restore mangroves, plant trees, and just restore all the degraded land. So those are the 3 principles that we're trying to implement through a treaty. We've chosen to keep the campaign sort of arm's length so that any group, individual can just adopt it as their own campaign. So already, we've got groups like In Defense of Animals and the Vegan Society. They're already campaigning and calling for a plant-based treaty. And so I guess, if you think of it more as a movement, and it's a call to action that everyone can just rally behind. IDA put it really nicely when they said, we are all plant-based treaty, which I think was really nice. So I'm part of the communications team. So I work on the website along with Natasha. I also help do building email action alerts, newsletters, and help with mass media. And then also I'm part of the UK team working on trying to get different cities to endorse the treaty.
Yeah, so you're very busy then. I mistakenly thought that you were in Canada, but you're not. You're obviously UK based, yes. So are you in London, or are you?
So I'm on the south coast in Bournemouth.
Right, okay, right in Bournemouth, yeah. So a few things that sort of came to mind when you were talking there. I do the school speaker program for animal aid, and increasingly we are finding that we're getting requests for work around the climate change. So what I use the plant-based treaty resources, because it's very, very accessible for children in schools. We put the video on, the green thumbs up, and we go through the 3 R's. We talk about what it means to them, obviously different age groups. So it's a really, really good set of resources. And also we talk about endorsing the plant-based treaty as well, to try and get other organisations, employers and councils to do that as well. But I think one thing you mentioned as well is about the subsidies. I think it's really, really important that the taxpayer understands that we are already subsidising animal-based farming. So why wouldn't we look at a safer, more environmentally friendly and definitely animal-friendly way of farming, and move the subsidies aside? We know that in the UK that the farming industries would collapse if the subsidies would be removed. So we need a lot of, we need to keep on pushing that part of it, because everybody is affected by money. Everybody wants to know what's happening to their money. Yeah. So in terms of the plant-based treaty, it's very much around systems change, which can be very, very slow. We had COP26 last year, and we were part of that. We were very sort of disappointed to find out that our group was actually the only animal rights group within the full march up in Newcastle. And even now we're still having problems trying to get the links with animal agriculture. The very up to date with the fossil fuels problem and all, that sort of thing, that pollution and everything. But the animal agriculture is something which they are kind of putting the blinkers on. They don't really want to listen to. So how do you feel the progress has been since the inception of plant-based treaty? This is to either or both of you, actually.
Yeah, so with plant-based treaty, we see it as about individual and systems change, because there's definitely an interconnect between the two. And policy change can help drive individual change, but then individual change helps put pressure on decision makers to change policy. So we're trying to do both. So when we're conducting vegan outreach, we're also collecting the endorsements to build the pressure. We recognize it is difficult to make those moves into the climate spaces, which is why it's really important to build alliances with climate activism and just try and get the plant-based message everywhere you can, basically, in that climate space. So obviously we did a soft launch in August last year, and then our hard launch was at COP26. And the Swedish MP Jens Holm actually commented that the plant-based treaty was like the most exciting launch at COP26, and he's been really championing it. And yet changes can be slow, but we're seeing really promising signs already. Like since launch, we've had like 8 sort of towns, villages and cities endorse the treaty. It's really taking off in the UK. Over 50 councillors have endorsed the treaty. So we're working towards now city endorsements and policy changes. 20 MPs have signed an early day motion in the UK in support of the plant-based treaty, and they've called for the government to develop a global strategy to transition towards a more sustainable plant-based food system. So, we are already seeing really promising signs, and that will only continue to grow as we sort of build the movement. Already we've got 27,000 individual endorsers, over 600 groups and 400 businesses. So people are really starting to get behind it.
Those figures actually are quite impressive, because I remember when I first started looking at the plant-based treaty, obviously it was just starting up, and I know you had massive sort of intentions with it, so it's really good to hear those numbers. I know you mentioned the early day motion in the UK, which was raised by Emma Llewellyn-Buck, who was our local MP. And she was one of the first. Well, I asked her she said she would raise the early day motion, and obviously she's got other people to sign it as well. So I think we do, it's right, it's kind of individual change and also systems change. We need to keep on pushing those who can change the law, and making sure that they do the right thing for us and for our children as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Anna, thank you so much for speaking personally to your Labour MP, Emma Llewellyn-Buck, because you started, so she then introduced this early day motion, which we didn't even know about until Nicola accidentally was just looking for plant-based treaty in the press or in Google, and she goes what's this? 14 MPs have endorsed an early day motion, and then we traced it back to you, Anna. So I just wanted to say a big thank you for that. And I also wanted to thank you for taking the video and resources on the website to schools. So on the plant-based treaty website, there's a campaign hub, and it has lots of resources dozens of things you can do in schools, things that businesses can do. We now have a Glasgow plant-based guide for restaurants there. We're going to have other cities do that. So if you or any of your listeners want to do a plant-based treaty guide to your city for vegan restaurants or zero waste places, we're going to put more, it's a very intersectional approach. We also have a plant-based treaty guide, a vegan starter kit, and then we have a guide for parents and children. So and we're shortly going to introduce a community gardening guide and a food giveaway guide, and many other guides, including one for vegan dog and cat food. So sky's the limit.
That's really interesting, actually, because we are based obviously in the northeast. I'm kind of about 10 miles away from Newcastle, which is a big city, and then we've also got Sunderland further down south, and that's quite a big city as well. So maybe they are two which we could look at for vegan city guides. We were talking about this not so long ago, actually. One of the members in our group said we really need to have a guide, a vegan city guide, because when people are coming to our stall, we're kind of listing things or give them a printed off sheet of where they can go, but actually to have a proper guide would be really good.
Right. And what we need to do, I think, is also include zero waste, and let's bring everybody together, because there's zero waste stores in my city that you can clean your kitchen with vinegar and baking soda, and this saves animal lives too. It's so intersectional. So let's do guides where we truly bring all the groups together.
Yeah. What I might do is, after I've spoken to you, and when I email you later on, I'll ask you to give me pointers to all these things we're doing, and I'll put them on the post as well, because I'm very interested in those. You mentioned the zero waste. Barbara Helen, who wrote the plant-based treaty theme. Yeah. She actually did a campaign in Saltburn to make it a plastic-free. I think it was a plastic-free. She got a lot of shops to sign up to plastic-free environments. So she did a lot of work there. So she's really very effective at what she does as well, and obviously with her music, So it sounds absolutely brilliant. I'm really sort of excited. I'm going to go back and have another look at the website, because I must have missed all those new things coming. I'm concentrating on the resources which I use for the schools. Yeah,
so they're being added all the time, and we're just building. One of the things we found, Animal Safe Movement is 11 years old, and we've never been successful at really like having a community organizing approach where religious leaders became involved or other groups. What we found with the plant-based treaty, it's so much faster and easier to build an intersectional, you know, a movement and get celebrity endorsement like never before. Like Paul, Mary, and sorry, what's the third? Mary and sorry,
Stella.
McCartney endorsed. Moby did a video for us, a video statement that's very powerful. We have, you know, celebrities in Mexico, India, Argentina stepping up, and yeah, it's been like never before. So we're just finding that, I mean, we're facing an animal and climate emergency. We don't have a lot of time. It's very urgent. Everyone, all your listeners, everyone needs to put their time and resources into solutions. Otherwise, we're not going to survive. There's an existential crisis that we're facing. And I can't emphasize enough how we all have to change paths. Like animal safe movement is like shifting from what the focus on animal vigils to now a new focus on plant-based treaty. We still do the vigils, but 90% of our time and resources are now going into fighting for climate solutions, which are plant-based and vegan. So, you know, I just think we're going to get to where we need to go faster. And it's so heartening to just be focusing on solutions.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was a very smart, if not pragmatic move for the plant-based treaty to link other things which people are genuinely worried about. I think people, you know, people who eat animals are less likely to, you know, unless they're directly looking for something or confronted with something, they're less likely to change their ways. But everybody is concerned about climate change, whether it's for themselves or whether they're concerned for the children or the children's children, you know, so, you know, in effect, the animals benefit. You know, I mean, our logo for our group is for the animals, for the planet, for us. Obviously for us, because we all benefit as do the other two, but for the animals first and foremost. So if we put time and effort into climate change, then the animals will, you know, animals will be saved.
Yeah, look at it this way. There's two paths, only two paths in my mind. We continue business as usual, and there's going to be runaway climate change. We're all going to die. The other path is we do the right thing. The root cause of the climate crisis is how humans relate to other animals and nature, and they relate to it in a horrible way, in a very supremacist, human supremacist way. It's self-defeating. So Leo Tolstoy said, when you wish to do harm to others, you really do evil to yourself. And so so we have two paths. So like if you're an animal rights activist, you're a climate activist because the climate solutions are ending animal agriculture as soon as possible, reforesting the earth, and phasing out fossil fuels as soon as possible. That would be a paradise on earth. So like we need to all be together. The intersectional point of view is the right answer to where we need to go. Right,
well, we're coming up to the end of our time together, so thank you very much. We really do appreciate you giving up your time in Bournemouth and over in Canada as well. So I'm going to sign off now. We will be airing this in a few weeks' time, and I'll put some links on as well to Animal Safe Movement and Plant-Based Treaty, and also sort of links direct to the resources as well, so people can go straight in and have a look at the things like the city guides and the school resources and stuff. So thank you very much. This is Anna Malia signing off now from Northeast Animal Rights, saying thank you and goodbye to Anita from the Animal Safe Movement, and from Nicola should I say, from the Plant-Based Treaty.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you very much.